Hi, I'm Mark, and welcome to the weekly Outside Views report on British politics. Today, I have to talk about current issues with British devolution, because Scotland wants to deal with the British central government again in court. In the dispute over a controversial Scottish gender law, which London has vetoed, Scottish Minister Shirley Ann Somerville announced on Wednesday that she intends to take legal action. This is likely to further increase tensions between Edinburgh and London again. Specifically, it's about a law to strengthen the rights of trans people, which has been passed by the Scottish Parliament and has been causing heated discussions in Scotland and beyond for months. The Scottish Parliament has passed legislation to strengthen the rights of trans people, and the MSPs voted in favour of the new regulation by 86 to 39 votes. Accordingly, it should be possible for trans people from the age of 16 to have their official gender changed. They no longer need a medical diagnosis for this, which proves that the affected person suffers from the fact that their gender identity does not match the gender they were assigned at birth. According to the new law, trans people only have to have lived openly with their actual gender for 3 months in order to have the entry changed. For minors, this period is 6 months. It is also possible to reverse the process, according to the BBC. Trans people in Scotland have been able to change their official gender since 2005. However, the bureaucratic process they had to go through was repeatedly criticized as degrading and dissuasive. After the result was announced, there were mixed reactions in the Scottish Parliament. Those affected and activists for the rights of trans people applauded in the visitor stands. Opponents of the law, on the other hand, spoke of shame. Anti-trans tendencies have also become louder in Scotland in recent years. There have been repeated protests against the extension of the rights of trans people by the new law. Anti-trans activists see the rights of cis women, that means women whose biological gender matches their social gender, at risk. And anti-trans activists resisting Scottish gender laws wherever they can. Members of the Conservative Party in the Scottish Parliament have also echoed similar allegations against trans women, although there have been no documented cases of men abusing the ability to officially change their gender to enter women's shelters. The new law provides for a prison sentence of up to 2 years for such cases. And the new law was supposed to come into force in the new year. Just to make it clear once again, trans people are people who do not identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. And now London is blocking this law on the grounds that it violates UK equality rules. The relationship between the British central government and the Scottish government has been tense for years because the SNP, the Scottish National Party, wants to separate Scotland from the United Kingdom as an independent state and bring it back into the European Union. However, London is refusing to hold another referendum, pointing out that a majority of Scots voted against independence in a referendum in 2014. However, the vote at the time took place before the Brexit referendum and the subsequent exit from the EU. But even within Scotland, the law is considered one of the most controversial of all time. 9 members of the governing coalition refused to give their consent. And in October, a minister who did not want to support the proposal even resigned. But the whole thing is because of the so-called devolution, and that means that Scotland cannot pass every law on its own, and that's where London started, and Scotland is suing. Devolution refers to the process of transferring powers, responsibilities, and decision-making authority from a central government to a regional or local government within a country or state. It involves the delegation of powers to lower levels of government, allowing them to have a degree of self-governance and make decisions on specific policy areas or issues. Devolution is often used as a means of decentralization, where power is shared or distributed across different levels of government, such as national, regional, or local levels. It can be a way to accommodate regional or local diversity, address specific needs or aspirations of different regions, and promote greater local involvement in decision-making processes. Devolution can take different forms and may vary depending on the country or state where it is implemented. In the context of the United Kingdom, for example, devolution has been implemented in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, where specific powers and responsibilities have been transferred from the central government to devolved governments in those regions. In other countries, devolution may be referred to as federalism, regional autonomy, or other terms, and the extent of powers and responsibilities devolved can vary widely, depending on the specific political and constitutional arrangements of each country or state. Devolution in the UK refers to the process by which certain powers and responsibilities are transferred from the central government in Westminster to the regional governments in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, as I said. Devolution there is a form of decentralization, allowing these regions to have varying degrees of self-governance within the framework of the United Kingdom. Devolution in the UK has been implemented through legislation passed by the UK Parliament. The key pieces of legislation that established devolution in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, I will name them for you once. The Scotland Act 1998 established the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh and granted it powers over areas such as education, health, transport, and the environment. The Scottish Parliament has the authority to make laws in devolved areas and is responsible for the administration of certain policy areas in Scotland. And then we have the Government of Wales Act 1998. This established the Welsh Assembly, now known as Welsh Parliament or Senate Cymru, in Cardiff, and granted its powers over areas such as education, health, and transport. The Welsh Parliament has the authority to make laws in devolved areas and is responsible for the administration of certain policy areas in Wales. And then we have the Northern Ireland Act 1998. This established the Northern Ireland Assembly in Belfast, you all know Stormont, and granted it powers over areas such as education, health, and agriculture. The Northern Ireland Assembly has the authority to make laws in devolved areas and is responsible for the administration of certain policy areas in Northern Ireland, if it is there and they have a government. Devolution in each of these regions is not the same. Scotland has the most extensive powers, followed by Wales and then Northern Ireland. The specific powers and responsibilities of each devolved government are set out in the relevant legislation and may be subject to changes over time. It is quite important to note that while the devolved governments have certain powers, the UK Parliament in Westminster retains authority over areas such as foreign affairs, defence, and economic policy, among others. Additionally, the UK government in Westminster retains the power to override decisions made by the devolved governments in certain circumstances, and that is what Westminster, or the government in London, tries to do right now with this trans law. And that is why this whole thing is so complicated, devolution. That's why I wanted to take it apart a bit for you today. I hope it helped. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.